Tell us about LUNCHMEAT.
Cool. So LUNCHMEAT is a print and online publication, lifestyle brand, a production company that is dedicated to the appreciation, celebration, and preservation of VHS and video era culture. That's everything from films that haven't made it to DVD or Blu-ray or never will, interviews with actors and directors from the video era or video era film, stuff about video stores, obviously. Basically anything that orbits around VHS and video store culture, like we're doing it. And it's just something that we're very passionate about and that we want to champion and continue to bring a community together. So, my friend Ted Gilbert started the magazine with me years ago, and he continues to help me work on the print magazine, which is getting harder and harder to do with all the other content and things like that. So essentially, it's me and a bunch of different artists that I collaborate with. Past 2 years, I think, I haven't been able to create as much content for LUNCHMEAT because I've been really focused on Video VORTEX. But I think it's also towards the goal. I still think it flies under the LUNCHMEAT banner, and being able to influence a physical space at the video stores, obviously a huge opportunity, and it takes a lot of energy. So, but I mean, I'm always doing stuff, covering stuff with LUNCHMEAT, and it used to be like I would go online and kick stuff out and cover it, and just put it on Spotlight, put it in VH Spotlight, and now there is I saw it bubbling up, man. I saw it bubbling up, and I was like, man, there's so much happening. I can't even keep track of all this stuff. You know what I mean? And now it'd be impossible to keep track of all the cool VHS culture that's happening. Even the minutia that happens, like somebody's making VHS earrings. You know what I mean? And then, things like that, and it's just hard to keep track of everything. But I mean, LUNCHMEAT is the bastion of VHS culture. VHS is happiness. It's more than just a motto. It's the complete embodiment in a phrase. Like, that's what it does for me. And I think that's what it does for a lot of other people. And we just want to keep that message alive and get people excited about movies and VHS and going to the video store and, looking cool, with this cool swag. I like making cool shirts and stuff. So.
Why LUNCHMEAT?
Oh, cool. So LUNCHMEAT, it's funny. So when I was really finding my way to this passion and kind of realizing what I wanted to do with this passion that I had for horror taste, I was playing in a pop punk band when I was 17 or something like that in South Jersey, and this guy was in another band, and we've been hanging out. And his parents owned a video store. They were closing down. I think this was 2005 or 2000, earlier than that, 2002, somewhere around then.
Yep.
And he gave me a stack of tapes. He's like, because he knew I was into VHS tapes or horror movies or that kind of thing. And he's like, here you go. And there's Kirk Alex's LUNCHMEAT in it, that movie. And I just watch the hell out of that tape all the time, because Texas Chainsaw Massacre is one of my favorite movies. And that's, it's very derivative of that. It's backwards and
certainly.
Things like that. It just feels like a two-cent ripoff. But so Ted and I were starting the magazine, a fanzine, and we were going over a bunch of names. And we watched LUNCHMEAT recently together. Mm-hmm. So I showed him that. And it's stylized as 2 words. And we were like, let's do it. And we were upstairs talking about movies every day over what? LUNCHMEAT sandwiches. Because we're 2 early 20-somethings. They're right. Don't have a ton of money. So what do? You make sandwiches. There's LUNCHMEAT,
Yeah.
So we thought it was kind of a joke and kind of funny. And we decided to stylize it as 1 word. And that was it.
It looks cool.
We thought it sounded cool.
Yeah.
We thought it sounded cool and it made sense. And
if you were to put LUNCHMEAT, the brand, into a sandwich, what would it be?
Ooh. Oh my goodness. I think I'd have to create a new blend.
Oh no.
All right, because I'm a big snack person too. I'm always VH snacking. So I think, and I want to lean towards a spicy Lebanon bologna because it has everything going on in it. A little bit of sweetness, a little bit of spice, some fat swirled in there. Mm-hmm. I don't know. That's pretty good. But I think I should also throw in some smoked ham. Oh man, because that's for that smoky flavor. And I think the LUNCHMEAT sandwich would have to be a buffet of different flavors and see how it all comes out. But man, that's such a good question. I love that question.
Yeah, it's like a scrap sandwich. of, just all of the throwaway meats. Like you've got your bolognas, your the macaroni loaf, the stuff that people kind of like, that's questionable at best.
Are these old chicken nuggets on this sandwich?
Right?
Like, yeah, it is.
You've got like some spicy pickled peppers on that. You've got pretzels in it. You've got like a dab of peanut butter. You're like, what the hell's that there for? It doesn't matter. You put it in there and you bite into it and you're like, this is interesting. It doesn't matter if it's good or not. You've left an impression.
But you're going to remember that sandwich forever, right? And instead of poppy seeds, there's little like bits of Doritos.
Ooh.
Let's just stick them in there. I don't know, man.
The prices of VHS stock has just skyrocketed.
I think the word that people might want to use is meteoric. I think that the rise in prices has been insane.
Meteoric. I love it.
The prices are just baffle me. I mean, I get it. I think as VHS becomes more popular, the more people that place bids on it, obviously it's going to go up. You're seeing copies of Friday the 13th go for like $50.
Sure.
Just like a few years ago, that's a $10 tape, $5 tape, because it's common. There's thousands and thousands of copies of that out there. And I think a lot of the pricing that has to do with VHS, is due to rarity or perceived rarity or like sexiness or like aesthetics or things like that. But mainly for more like seasoned collectors or things like that, you'll pay more money for certain tastes because you know that it's ostensibly rare or ostensibly scarce, and I mean, a copy of Leprechaun for $20. It's crazy, but I mean, it's literally crazy because you can get that movie for like $4. But, if you want the aesthetic of it on VHS, you want that memory. And I think more people are attracted to that now.
Yeah.
And especially the advent of the internet, which has continued to expand over the past 3, 4, 5 years, and that's huge, and I think that's what causes price increases because there's more people at the party. There's more people looking at it.
Yeah.
So
an Instagram account that's selling, tapes anywhere between $1 to $50 per copy, for instance, it looks so cool. Like you say, the aesthetic. And then you see collectors like yourself, others who have their shelves stocked and, a cute Instagram photo and write up. And then you as a fan of that starts feeling jealous that you're like, shit, I don't have that. And and I want that. Something I was reading in your Stuck on VHS book, which I love. I absolutely love it. And I'll tell you, if you need a pick-me-up, start flipping through that and you get the feels all over again. I got chills even thinking about it. If you grew up in a certain time period, you know exactly what we as fans of this are enjoying about it. And it's just seeing this like cultivation of your memories and your love of something that unifies everybody right across the world in a universal language without having to speak the same language. But it's that physical artifact that takes you back to shopping the aisles, going in potentially blind. You didn't even know what you were going to rent, but the box art had to, the cover art had to sell you. The write-up had to sell you. And that's all you knew. And you said, damn, I'm going to rent that. That's going to be great. And you take it home. And even if it was mediocre, you had an experience to go with that viewing. Then you take it back and you hit reset and you do it all over again. That's something my 3-year-old in 2020 will not experience.
No, I mean, this doesn't exist right now, and who knows if it ever will. Never will probably on a massive scale like it was because it was normal.
Right.
It was, it was usual. And I think that, I think it is nostalgia. It's huge. It's a nostalgic thing because that's the way it used to be. That's the way you used to find movies, and you would go to the video store and like you said, you explained it beautifully. I think it really nails it. I think it's just a different time and different place. And I felt like it was, I've been doing this for a long time, trying to champion this stuff and, trying to get people to remember it and appreciate it. And, it's just a passion for me. I think it's amazing how much it's expanded. And obviously it's not just me. You know what I mean? Like it's tons of people, it's tons of people like creating, Facebook, groups and, people on Instagram, like you said, creating this, and like, it continues to expand, and it's incredible. And you see these like actual things happening, you know what I mean? Where like, you say prices going up, and then you see like new brands and like all this other kind of stuff. And it's crazy, man. It's just like, wow, like everybody's doing something with it, which is inspiring. And, but not to get too off track, I think, the video store is, it's just a different time and place. And it was something, like I'm trying to keep alive. Like I'm running a video store down here. There's still video stores out there that are doing it, and working really hard to do it.
Of course.
Videodrome in Atlanta is doing a drive-up service. And I mean, there's all places doing it. So it's just cool.
And that's also part of it, is that it's popping up. I relate to it as being a lifelong fan of metal and the metal culture. So like, you exist within this outsider, misfit, misunderstood society, but yet people all over the world relate to that. And your best friends are not necessarily people you had to grow up with. There's someone that you could have met at a metal show wearing an obscure band shirt that only you thought you knew, and then you start up that conversation. Same thing happens at those video stores. Now, somewhere like, let's say like Slashback Video, it just makes you feel like it's a concert experience. Like you go to socialize, got that culture that's welcoming to not only you because you get it, but you can welcome others. So like, there's no alienation in there. You're not going to get someone going in saying, why are VHS still around? Why are they coming back? You get it. You know exactly why you're there. And it's not like someone goes into the library and says, oh man, print is dead. But
books, ew.
Yeah, who reads books? Yeah, I mean, it's just that physical media. Vinyl, obviously, that's a really big one there. Yeah. And I think VHS is kind of following suit. The market is there for it, like you say. They've even redesigned packaging for Blu-rays and DVDs to look like VHS. So obviously there's a nostalgic collector element out there that craves it. And I'm definitely one of them. And again, I admittedly, I am super jealous of people that have great looking collections. I didn't have a collection per se to begin with, but I definitely want one now. I'm looking at my shelf over here. I've got 2 VHS on this one shelf, Dr. Otto and the Riddle of the Gloombeam. Oh, it's, you know what, that movie is what we're talking about.
Yeah, it's a secret sauce. I don't know if it's on DVD or Blu-ray, but it has this connection to both VHS culture and Ernest culture. So I think it kind of like nails it, that perfect storm. So.
That is one of my earliest video store memories, is Dr. Otto. I know that I rented that way more than I probably should have at the age that I did with my parents. But I was such a Ernest fan, like it didn't matter. As long as Jim Varney was involved in some way, I was into it. Hey Vern, It's Ernest TV show, that was right around that time where he was at his peak of popularity, which Dr. Otto would have been under the radar, but now kind of came into some sort of forefront only because he was playing Dr. Otto on the show. Mm-hmm. So when we went to the video store down the road from us, there was this video there. Now, the copy that I remember, and I only came across it recently online, is based off of the close-up that we have on the conventional poster and box art. And it was in one of those big clamshell cases. And I just remember it was eye level. And I went right into the store and I locked eyes with it. And I said, yep, this will do. And I just like turned around and I said, Dad, yep, that's what I want. And I took it home. We put it in, hit play. This one didn't have the Ernest intro where he's talking to Vern, only just started right in to the opening credits. And I remember actually hiding in the room till the credits were over because it was kind of terrifying to hear him sing his off-key singing with someone who's singing well, and destructive imagery. And I was actually disturbed by it, even like say 4 years old. And I was in the other room until, the credits were over. And that's a memory burn, but I can't think of running in fear without going back to the video store and asking for it every weekend. Like, it's just almost, it was like that fascination of horror or an amusement park ride. You go through it because you endured and you lived through something, but yet it's exciting.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's what's attractive about horror movies. You know, I think it's thrilling, you know, and obviously it gives you some feels, you know what I mean? And you're like, oh man, that scared the shit out of me. You know what I mean? But you want to do it again. You want to ride the roller coaster again because you come out and you're okay.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I'm okay. You know what I mean? So I think that's, you know, when I was falling in love with these movies like Return of the Living Dead and, you know, Monster Squad and, you know, Leprechaun and it, you know, all this other kind of stuff was influencing me because it was scaring the hell out of me.
Yeah.
You know, but it was really fun, you know, and I think it's a really important thing, you know what I mean? Because I think those kind of memories stick with you.
Yeah.
You know, like everybody talks about, they go into a video store and they remember this cover. I think you just posted something where it's like, I remember this cover, but I've never seen the movie.
Yes.
And like, think about this huge influence that this piece of art did for you.
Oh my
it's almost
God.
like going into an art gallery. You know what I mean? So, I mean, it was like that for people where they like go in and when you go to an art gallery, it gives you this cultural exposure, right? It gives you like this kind of contextual history, right?
Sure.
So, I mean, but video stores were a snapshot, a contextual piece of history for film, you know? And I think like all of those video covers are, you know, just as important, if not more for some people, on influencing their fears or their desires or like, you know, what kind of art they appreciate or what kind of things they want to experience. You know, I think it's huge, you know, and I think that's why I do what I do is because I don't know how many people are really talking about that. You know, we're 10 years ago anyway. So.
It's a snapshot in time. It's almost like when a director has the ability to clean up a release of a previous, you know, era of filmmaking, but they choose not to because it's actually kind of charming and it's been there all this time and no one else has pointed it out. Or if you take it out, would someone notice it? You risk tampering with the artifact of the time.
Yeah.
For instance, Jaws, right? Like say you see a mechanical wire or something like that. Well,
yeah.
That's part of it. That's part of the magic that was there. It was there all this time, and it has influenced a ton of people and will always remain a very relevant piece of study. However, it says something about the ability to clean up in a destructive way only to present it as being remastered or perfect. Yeah, that's kind of like when CD was replacing vinyl. Neil Young said, what it didn't have was the warmth. And I know that was something that ended up becoming a very trite quote that people were using when they were trying to justify why buying vinyl was cool. The reality is that what he was referring to is the live, living human experience that you hear. Like if you listen to, let's say, like a very raw sounding album versus a very, very clean and polished 80s pressing where it became very tinny. Yes, it was clean in terms of noise cancellation, but it lacked what it feels like to see a band live, that human experience. And I think that's what I'm talking about with VHS. It's going in, you pick it up off the shelf, you hold it, you analyze it. That was your choice. And you went home and you had you had popcorn and get everything set, the ambiance, and it's an experience. And I think we're cheapened now because we have too much accessibility with very little effort with streaming services. They are great because it's archival. You can go back through, you can educate yourself very quickly, especially right now, seeing as we're in a bit of a lockdown phase, over across the globe, so we can keep ourselves entertained. And I'm getting caught up on exactly what we were just talking about a second ago, which was the box art leaving a lasting impression on you from your childhood that you have never seen, but the memory burn from how effective the artwork was. And now I'm going back through saying, okay, let's see how cool this movie is. I hope it's as cool as that box art was.
A lot of times it's not, but I think that's the power of those video boxes, And that was the only mouthpiece they had. That was the only piece of communication they had for their film. And I think hyperbolizing things and making it vibrant and spectacular was the goal. you know, and
Right.
I think they wanted the aesthetics to speak to people like, you know, Mountaintop Motel Massacre or like Blood Beach or like things like that where you're like, wow, this is impactful. I got to rent this. This looks spooky. Like this looks crazy.
Right.
You know, and I mean, that was the name of the game. I mean,
Sure.
it doesn't surprise me that these pieces of art are sticking with people. We see that with album art now, I guess.
Sure.
I just don't. I don't know if there's really like an experience like that anymore. You know what I mean?
I remember a time when you used to line up for an album coming out on release day.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was anticipation. You still see it in a way in theaters. Let's just pretend COVID's not going on. When people would line up, you know, say a movie has a screening on Wednesday night at midnight. Let's say something like Star Wars or Harry Potter. There's a good chance there's a portion of those people that are actually in cosplay because they've gone that extra mile to show their appreciation or their connection to how important that is to them.
Yeah.
You're running Video Vortex, a video store, open in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got, was it over 70,000?
Yeah, 70,000 plus.
Okay. That's a lot. How many titles would an average run-of-the-mill video store have back in the day?
I think it depends on the size of the store. Maybe like 3,000, 5,000,
Sure.
10,000.
So you've got 70,000 plus.
It's like a video store reimagined, right? So, I mean, you walk into Alamo Draft House in Raleigh, and it's a big open floor plan. You know, Video Vortex is the bar and the video store. So when you come in, you see a huge neon sign that says Video Vortex that, you know, kind of like, you know, hangs over the bar. And then on one side are all of the disc selection, and they're in these bins, right? And then you, so it's like a plastic case, like thin plastic that where all the artwork's in. And that's how you find discs, right? So we're able to store, you know, 66,000 titles on the floor that way because you can fit them, you know, because it's just a very slim thing. And that has merchandise on that side as well. And then on the left side is all the VHS stuff. And all the VHS are just out, you know, spine out, just like an old video store. So,
Awesome.
and those are all live. Like for the disc, you take up the artwork and then you pull them from the back. Now, all the VHS, we don't really have the storage for that, so all the VHS are just there. And you take it up and you can rent those out directly. But I mean, it's like, it's just overwhelming feeling of like retro rad. Mm-hmm. You know, I think we did a really good job, like bringing that place together and making it feel like, whoa, you know what I mean? And, you know, when people walk in, you can see their face, and it's a really cool feeling.
You mean old people like us?
So, yeah, man. I mean, well, that's the thing is, I love hanging out in the Vortex, and, you know, I hang out by the VHS stacks a lot, surprise, surprise. So I hear people walk by that are just going to a movie because you have to understand that Alamo is their theater, too. So people just come in there just to see movies or get a drink or eat food or what have you.
Yeah.
So you'll see people that are probably like 50 years old, 60 years old, maybe even in the late 40s.
All right.
And they walk by and they're like, VHS? Look at this. Wowie Valley. Like, you know, that kind of reaction. And it's awesome. And I love seeing those people, and I'm like going up like, yeah, you know, we rent these for free. And they're like, you rent these? Who's got a VCR? And I was like, oh, well, we rent those too. So
oh my God.
You can do that.
That's
and they're
great.
like, really? Wow. And I was like, yeah, so the rentals are free. And then, you know, if you want to rent a VCR, it's $10 a week. And you see them like they're delighted, you know, or at least just like kind of like amused by it, you know. And I think that's so fun.
I'm really giddy just even hearing this right now.
It is. It's really cool. And you see people's faces, and you have regulars that rent all the time.
No doubt.
You know, and it really there is that piece of community there.
Yeah.
You know, because there's a lot of moving parts inside that building. I mean, like I said, it's a movie theater, restaurant, it's a bar. You know, I do all the events, you know, in the bar there, in the Video Vortex, in that space. Mm-hmm. So it's alive in there. You know, when you come in, and it's like the neon is you know, casts a very cool pink overtone on everything, and
nice.
It's cool. It's a really cool experience, and you know, it's a mixture of things.
What that Stuck on VHS book does is, you know, it allows me to experience that little bit of what I am feeling like I'm missing out on. Mm-hmm. On the surface, a book about stickers, how cool could that be? But once you start opening up those pages, you get those feels, and then you see titles, and then you go online, you take a look at that, you're like, oh my God, I forgot about that movie.
You know, like when you go into VORTEX, you know, you said what's it like when you go in there. I said it's just rad and retro. But I mean, like, there's way more to it, and it's a culture, it's a vibe. You know what I mean? And, you know, we have 7-foot recreations of VHS tapes, and you have TV tables that look like giant VHS tapes where the face labels are televisions, and you can play VHS tapes on them.
Oh.
You know, it's incredible. And I think, like, that's what a video store's for, right? Is to explore. You know, and I think that's why we love this stuff. Well, I love it anyway, is because there's a constant, you know, flow, perpetual exploration and discovery. Like, because I still haven't seen everything. No. You know, and I mean, I don't think anybody has. You know, and anybody that's like, oh, I've seen everything is either misled or pretentious. You know, and I think that, like, it's that's the beauty of VHS collecting and you know, studying these films and this culture, is that there is so much undiscovered history, especially from the video store era. You know, and there's no real numbers on that stuff. Like with records, you look it up, you're like, oh, there's 1,000 of these pressed. Here you go. Sure. On this website right here, Discog. You're like, well, how many copies of Frankenhooker are really out there? Sure. Like, how many copies of the standard one? How many copies of the Talking Box? Like, can I get a solid number from Shapiro Glickenhaus of how many are out there? Sure. You know what I mean? And I don't think that data really exists. It probably does somewhere, but I don't think it was ever accessed. You know, and I feel like that's why you can see that VHS culture and collecting is newer, you know, or fresher than that. You know what I mean? And I don't think anybody was thinking it to keep that kind of information. You know what I mean? And I think you're saying that your kid's going to grow up to be 15, and maybe there's a video store, some kind of physical media space where they can go. You know what I mean? And I think that with all the passion that's happening now, and as it continues to grow, I think that people will be inspired from it. Like, I mean, maybe somebody in your town in 5 years might try to open a video store or do like an art installation, like Flashback or what have you. You know what I mean? So I think the comparison that comes to mind is like a retro 50s diner, right? Like, what a cool experience is that? You know what I mean? And then things evolve, right? And then, but you don't ever want to lose that piece of culture that was so aesthetic and beautiful and important and, like, you know, changing. You know what I mean? So it's like, I think we'll see things like that. It's got to be totally boutique, though. You know what I mean? I don't think that, like, how record stores are installations in a lot of, like, cultural hubs. I think that video stores are going to be more boutique, but I think that it'll always exist. I mean, as long as I'm on this earth, I will be championing this stuff and trying to convince people that, you know, VHS tapes are fun, exciting, and such a huge part of our culture that you said is very relatable. You know, for a lot of people of a certain era, that were super influential. You know, I think a lot of people just kind of took it for granted, which is not a bad thing. But I mean, like, it's just there's energy to it, man. Like, I come into my tape room and, like, I feel the energy coming from the tape. You smell it. What I mean? And it's like, it feels good. It's like any kind of collector, any kind of enthusiast. You know what I mean? And they give you good energy. And, you know, I had my collection for years and years, you know, and I still go through my tapes and look at them. You know, picking out something to watch takes me like an hour, bro. Like, I mean, it's still to this day. Are you at some point in your collection now, you're collecting it because you want to watch it, and it doesn't matter which version of it is? It's just as long as it's playable and great. I want a sexy tape just like everybody else. I mean, I got lucky. I was collecting. I've been collecting for a while, so I mean, a lot of stuff that goes for like $100, $200, I've had for, like, you know, 8 years or 10 years or 12, 15, 20. I don't know. You know what I mean? But the stuff I buy now is because I want to watch it, or because it's got some research in it that I want to see, or like it's a film that's not on DVD or not on Blu-ray. Right. You know, and really that's why I started LUNCHMEAT, to celebrate films that were not on disc and, like, weren't getting the releases that I thought they should. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. And you know, there's a lot of companies doing great things right now, but usually I go after stuff that is just a really cool tape. I collect Star Classics, which is a label. Yes. Like a budget label that does all AP stuff. And stuff I've never seen that looks rad. Yep. You know, I'm on the boards just like everybody else. Like I go through and see people selling stuff, and I'm on eBay at like 2 a.m. during COVID, looking for tapes, and you know what I mean? Like you're like, holy crap! Like this is only $4. I don't know, what is this? And you research it a little bit, and you're like, oh, this is not a big deal. That's $4. Yeah. It might be a total like piece of crap, but I mean, like that is a film that has not yet made the jump, right?
Right.
And there is nearly all films have some sort of redeeming quality. Whether that be it's like an early appearance from somebody, or it was made in a specific town, or something. You know what I mean? And I don't know. The stuff in my collection varies. But the reason I buy tapes right now is to watch the content.
Yeah.
And that's mainly what it is. I think, let's see, I can tell you, I realized that I traded my copy of 976 Evil like 2 years ago. I don't know what I was doing. But I bought that again for like $5 from somebody.
Yeah.
And then I got a copy of Don't Go in the House, which I already have 2 copies of it. But this copy of Don't Go in the House has like this manic small writing on the face label and the side label, and it's like a love letter to the ladies that star in this movie.
Okay.
So I wanted that tape. Thought it was really cool.
Yeah.
A buddy showed it to me. I was like, oh man, I need that.
And you can justify that. It's a part of that culture, and we totally get that. The fact that you're even collecting just one of them is enough to collect 2 of them.
Yeah. Well, that tape becomes like an even further cultural artifact, right? It's
right.
Like you have a postcard, with a picture of something that's not there anymore, or that's a place that you really love. But then you have that same postcard with a personal inscription on the back, and it becomes a deeper piece of cultural artifact.
Yeah. Right.
And I think just having that Don't Go in the House copy with this person's, ostensibly manic kind of small writing on this thing as a love letter to the women, that like it's really cool, and it's a unique thing.
Yeah.
And I think I go after that with the tapes too.
Right. It becomes a thumbprint that has DNA attached to it that you can trace back, just like you would at a library. With a book, you just look back, you can see exactly its journey, which edition, and it's kind of fun. It becomes more of the scavenger hunt right across the world where, like you said, you're on eBay at 2 a.m. and you're like, it doesn't even matter, where it came from. You just want it now.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's the big thing about stuck on VHS too, is it gives you the feels, and I'm really happy to hear people say that, because that's what it does for me. You never know when you publish something like that, because you said it. How cool can this book really be? It's a book of stickers, and I think I gave the concept to some people when I was working on it. They're like, "That sounds cool, man," and some people were like, "That sounds awesome." They didn't really know, you see how people receive it, but there's so much history involved. And on topical, I buy tapes sometimes for the sticker on the front now. You know what I mean? I'm like, wow, that's a really cool sticker, and this tape's only $3.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I already have this copy of Homeboy, but I'm gonna buy it again. And
yeah.
Because it's a historical thing, and I'm documenting this stuff, and it's my passion. It's what I love, and it gives me happiness.
Yeah.
So, I mean, but there's so much cultural context inside of those stickers, and video stores, like I say in the book, it's like it might be the only evidence that this place existed.
Yeah. And that is so depressing.
Well, I mean, it's crazy how quickly it happened.
Yeah.
I think that, these places were hubs. People would come there every single day, and on the weekends it would be mobbed. The video store was the place to be. And I mean, all of a sudden, with just like one flick of the switch, like, oh, we're going to send it straight to your home now. And cable was doing that already, right?
Yep.
But now there's such focus on it. And everybody's like, don't go outside. You don't need to go outside anymore, man.
No.
And like people are like, I'm okay with that. And it's like now Netflix and all this other streaming. And I see people during this pandemic that are actually, housebound, that are like, man, this is actually kind of boring. This streaming stuff. Because, you know what I mean? And they're like, I want to go outside and look through this. And I think there's a lot of people, I'd like to imagine this might be somewhat of a romantic, fantasy, but there's people stuck in their house and they're going through their basements, they're going through their attic, they're reorganizing closets.
Yeah.
And they find a box of tapes. Yeah. And they're like, I want to watch, I haven't seen Independence Day in a while. And they watch Independence Day on tape, where they're going through and they find their old tapes from when, they were kids, and they watch that and they see VHS as this medium that's like, wow, this is still really viable. It contains important information. Who knows if it really sends them on that deep of a thought? But I think that people are connecting with those things again.
Yeah.
Because there's an oversaturation of it, of streaming and like all that kind of stuff. And I think if you take a daily dose of it, you don't notice it as much. But if you have no other interference or no other things going on, people are like, man, I'm sick of this. You know what I mean? So
yes.
I think that might turn some people too.
Most certainly. And it's interesting that you say that and used Independence Day for an example. So say you're going through, say, 3 different streaming services. Let's say Amazon Prime, Netflix, and, let's say, I don't know, just something else. And
Tubi, sure.
Right. And you've spent probably an hour trying to pick something. And the titles are damn near endless between your options. Like you could have picked anything by now. You're halfway through a movie at this point. And and you cannot even pick anything because it's overwhelming and nothing's exciting. Now, if you were to pick up a copy of ID4 and you go, oh man, it's on tape. Like let me pop this in. You commit to that. And your watching experience only changes because you picked it up physically, took the time to pop it into the machine. You hear the tape heads rolling. You hear the machine just like pulling the tape through everything. And then you sit back and you see just that slight bit of fuzz, that little bit of distortion, the film grain. And you go, yep, that's what it was like when you put on a movie.
And it takes you there.
And it takes you way back. Yeah. 100%.
And I wonder if there's going to be that kind of nostalgia when, like you said, when your kid is 15. Like, what are they going to be nostalgic for? Are they going to be nostalgic for laying on their bed with their headphones and flipping through the internet?
Yeah. Are they going to be nostalgic for TikTok?
Yeah, I just don't know. I mean, that's totally a possibility. I mean, because the way culture changes. But I mean, because who knows what's going to happen in 15 years. But I mean, like, we had tactile, physical experiences that put us out into the world. It put us out there.
Yeah.
And we were like, buying Butterfinger BBs and renting Motel Massacre and like grabbing up stuff, getting something out of the quarter machine.
Right.
Begging your mom for this poster.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that was just going to get a movie.
Yeah.
Like, that was the process of picking out a movie.
Oh my God, yeah.
All those wonderful experiences was just one element of going to the video store.
Oh yeah, it was the full thing. You get the movie. If you got 2, you were lucky, and then you get your snacks lined up, and then
you gotta get that lined up. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you maybe have gone the next step, and you're like, oh, if I rent this, I got to call Jimmy. He's got to come over and see this, right? All of a sudden, you've now cultivated an event just by going to a video store to make a decision. And that wasn't necessarily the intent, but it became that way because you were feeding that desire to feel something, even then, not knowing how important that would be for like making a decision to pick a movie, let's say 25 years later, and you're thumbing your way through Netflix and you're like, I don't know if I want to watch that. I don't know if I want to watch it. It's like, I never was that flippant in a video store. If the box art looked cool, I'd pick it up and I'd say, yeah, no, that's coming home with me. And it could have been a piece of trash. Yeah. Like, and not to stick on horror movies necessarily, but horror movies, especially a bad horror movie, is still a great time.
Yeah.
Like, it really has to be awful. Like, really, really awful. Like something that, it's probably never even been made yet. It's so bad because you can sit through a piece of trash horror movie and you be like, oh my God, I got to tell someone about this. Cause you know somebody who, if they haven't seen it already, they're going to love it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is, well, you talk about commitment, right?
Yeah.
And so you're watching something on Netflix, you have a subscription that gives you, X amount of movies, 1,000. Let's just say 1,000. 2,000, 2,000. I don't really know how many are curated out there.
Sure.
Curated loosely used. But, so you don't really feel a commitment. If you're 25 minutes into a movie and you're like, this sucks, or you're just on your phone not paying attention to it.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? So you're not committed to this movie at all.
Nope.
It's not even an event. It's a thing. It's a distraction.
Yeah.
But when you went to the video store, you paid, $5 or whatever to rent this movie. You're going to go home, you're going to eat the pizza, and you're going to watch this movie that you just paid money for.
Hell yeah, dude.
Sometimes you turn it off, it was absolutely terrible. You're like, well, I'm never renting that again. But I mean, most of the time, you stick it out because you're committed to it.
Yes.
I mean, and we didn't have distractions like that back then. When you sat down in front of the television,
Mm-hmm.
you were there. You were going to a different world, and you were committed to this VHS tape.
Most certainly.
And then it's just a different experience. There was different stimulus then. And I think the only thing that would distract you is going to the bathroom or getting another slice of pizza. Or if the phone rings, you know what I mean?
Oh man, if the phone rang?
Pause it. Yeah.
Yeah, if the phone rang, if it was that important. I gotta call you
back and watching the tape.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, don't talk. Yeah. You're talking through one of the best parts. You're on your third viewing of them.
Are you gonna answer that? I'm gonna pause it. I'm gonna pause it and answer
That's
that.
it. Yeah.
So I mean, it's definitely a different kind of commitment.
Oh,
and that's what makes memories.
Yeah.
When you're committed to a moment.
That's right. And that's what's exciting about talking to someone like you, for me, is just this ability to connect with someone so quickly over something so niche. It's because it's niche. Yeah. It's because you're passionate about it that feeds that niche market, and everyone gets it. And that's what's so amazing about it, and I've touched on metal, the metal culture and the subgenres within all the obscurity of metal as a whole, as the arc, is a beloved, misunderstood, miscreant sort of society that, is a bunch of outcasts that are brought together, but yet it's enjoyed by thousands, everywhere, and yet nobody knows about it. You go to the Wacken Open Air Festival, and you're there to see Bathory in their third reunion tour or whatever, right? Nobody has heard of them, in terms of a popular sense, but yet people flew there just to see them. That's like when a video store would be relaunching. There's going to be a lineup of people, and yet popular sources might say, what? Why? You got a 4K UHD TV. What? You're not going to enjoy it on that. Hell, I'm not going to enjoy it on that.
I was in the metal community for a long time. I worked for Relapse Records for 7 years.
No way.
Like that. And I was working in the mail order, doing all the customer service. It was awesome, man. And I was heavily into the metal culture as well. I mean, I still love metal and punk, but there's a community there.
Yeah.
Going to a metal show and seeing people in a Bathory t-shirt, and you're like, oh man, yeah, I love Bathory, rip. And then you start talking about this other band and this other band. And there is some connective tissue there, I think, with the VHS world or any kind of collector culture that's really into artistic output.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And So it's like those movies almost become bands. Directors almost become labels.
Yes.
So it's very similar. So I agree with you.
Yeah. Now there's a quest to kind of feel connection again to not only entertainment, but art. And it's something that's lacking in the hundreds of thousands of titles at your thumb, that almost you develop an ADHD of trying to decide what you want to watch. And then all of a sudden you've spent half of it on your phone, still looking up other movies to watch. And it really cheapens the effort that it takes to even make a mediocre movie, even by today's standards. and it's really it's almost like a disadvantage to the creators to be able to be on all of these streaming services at once. So, that's why I feel it's very important for people like yourself to bring back that resurgence and that love and that connection of going to a store. It's like trying to convince a book collector to try Kindle. It's gonna be kind of hard, actually.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's curation, right? And I think you touched on a lot of things, but just the thing you most recently touched on, I think it's curation.
Yeah.
And it's personalization. And I think they give the facade of that, like, recommended for you. It's recommended for you, for sure. But, like, also, like, 20,000 other people. You know what I mean? And I think it's like you go into a video store and you're like, oh, yeah, what's up, Matt? Like, have you rented this? Have you seen this? Oh, you like weird kids movies, right? Have you seen To Catch a Yeti? Seen that one? And you're like, no. What's that? You're like, oh, dude's got meatloaf in it. And you're like, I'm sold. You're like, that's like Netflix isn't going to talk to you.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, that's not going to happen.
No.
So I think it's just a different thing, man. And I think, but hopefully, these more focused, curated things are happening. Mm-hmm. And I'm seeing it. I'm involved in a couple of the things.
Yeah.
Where streaming is a thing that people consume now, and you want to be able to make sure that they can get there. They can get where they want. They get the stuff they want to see, and I think that that's what I want to do. I want to, like you said, there's a culture. You know what I mean? That's why like people go to video stores, or why people go to battery shows to find their kindred spirit. I think as the culture continues to spread, more people put their eyes on it, and then the artists that are kind of even just on the outskirts of VHS culture. Let's say, like, here's an example. There's an illustrator, an artist that does comics and things like that. And this person made a shot-on-video movie when they were like 9 or 10 or something like that. And they were posting clips about it. And I was like, man, this is perfect. Like, this is a perfect example of something that needs to be shown. Because he's, a reasonably recognized artist for something else. But I'm like, hey, man, do you want to put this out on tape? Because this is cool. And he's like, I don't know. Like, it's, I made it when I was 10. I was like, that's perfect, though. Like, you made a movie when you were 10, shot on video. Like, you should show that to people, even if you just do 25, 50 copies or something.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden they enter the VHS collector world, or they enter the VHS person world. Even though they're not outwardly facing as a VHS person, all of a sudden they're like connecting with their art with a new audience. And I think that's really important. And as that continues to expand, there's going to be more collaborations in a way that video store and video era and VHS culture kind of come into other different cultures.
Yeah. Again, this whole conversation that we're having about VHS, it exists much larger than I think people actually think. Maybe we're only talking about VHS, but someone who may not start collecting VHS now has been to a midnight screening of an old movie on a shitty old reel and, that looks destroyed for $5 somewhere. And they loved it. But there was that nostalgic moment where you're sitting there in the theater going like, I bet you I saw this exact pressing of this when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And it's all part of that same appreciation of the experience. And, I mean, snacks are a completely different discussion, but yes, that's all part of it too.
Yeah, if you ever want to bring me on for nostalgia snacks, man, I'm there for it.
Man.
So I do want to say, because you said something really important, that there are a lot of people into VHS culture that you don't see.
Yes.
I've made this a point to bring up in my past couple talks about this is, because you see a lot of people that are active on Facebook groups, right? Mm-hmm. And that post on Instagram and things like that. But it is, and you see that and you're like, wow, there is a huge community here of these people interacting.
Yeah.
And that's just a portion of people that are into VHS culture and that collect. Mm-hmm. I know people that don't get a lot of visibility that are still there. You know what I mean? And then other people that collect heavy and are very knowledgeable and all that kind of stuff that don't do social media at all, really.
Right.
And the way they do their social media doesn't really reflect the fact that they are huge tape heads and that they know a lot about, and they support the culture, and they do all these other things. You know what I mean? So, it's like obviously I run LunchMeat, I get orders, and you see people that purchase from you, and you're like, well, this I don't know who this person is. Obviously, I have a lot of customers that don't know who they are, but you see that there's just so many people that are into this stuff, and I think that seeing the reaction to Stuck on VHS, the book, I mean, it's so cool to see people that aren't wearing a metal T-shirt looking at this book. You know what I mean? And it's like, that's so cool.
Right.
So yeah, I think everybody has, from a certain time frame, has connective tissue with it. So
most certainly, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, no, that's super cool.
But I really want to thank you for this very sincere conversation, and I really appreciate it.
Oh man, my pleasure, really. And I think that that's part of the importance of what we're talking about, is that sincerity, that genuine connection. And that's what our show Nostaljunk is really all about, is about connecting to the feels. Everyone's got different nostalgia, but everyone has the same emotional attachment to said nostalgia. So that's what's important.
Yeah.
And that's what I think that's what I think you and I touched on this evening in a very short time period. It's been a blast, man. It's been a lot of fun.
For sure, dude. Yeah.
I do want to thank you for coming on, and I hope to chat with you soon.
Absolutely, man. I had my absolute pleasure, for sure. It was just a ton of fun, and thank you again, and have a great night.
You as well. Thanks, Josh. Bye-bye.
Later.